G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Yes, England versus Argentina, the final round for these two teams in the Autumn Nations. The end of the season for the Argentinians, and I guess the start of the season for the England team, building towards the Six Nations with a brand new look, brand new, a lot of new players, a lot of new toys that Borthwick is allowed to play going into the Six Nations. And yeah, this was, again, really, really impressive performance by both teams. England had a really outstanding win against the All Blacks last week with the Palm squad coming off the bench. This week, I felt like the bench wasn't quite as effective as they showed last week. Whereas Argentinians, just like last week, started off a little bit slow, against the Scottish and really pummeled themselves through in the second half, almost getting there at the end for an opportunity for an upset. It is a little bit interesting when it comes to substitutions. The England team, actually, I don't know if this was, I'm pretty sure this is planned by the Argentinians, but the Argentinians seems to have substituted their, Puma squad just about 5 minutes before England. So they put on about, 3 or 4 players around the 45-minute mark, and then they put on the rest of the team pretty much just before the 60-minute mark, 55-minute mark. Whereas England put on about 3 or 4 of their players around the 50-minute mark, which is 5 minutes after the initial big substitution batch from the Pumas. And then the second batch for the England team came on at the 60-minute mark. So yeah, that 5-minute difference really found some opportunities for the Pumas. It really closed up the gap a little bit. Whereas I actually felt that the Pumas, if this was the strategy they were aiming for that little timing window where they have fresh legs against some tired big bodies out there, if that was the timing window, there was one point where they took the 3 points to close the gap from 13 points to 17 to 16 points to 17 to close that gap. That was, in my opinion, that seemed to me like a bit of a mistake for the Argentinian side, because this is clearly a timing window that you're looking for, right? And you have fresh legs on the field. England is, still hasn't really put on their Palm squad yet. So to take the 3 there, I thought was probably a little bit of a strategic mistake there from the Pumas, but still, they still showed what they were able to do against Scotland team, against English towards the end, and really finished up strong. It was a bit interesting to me as well that England did not use Marcus Smith at all, especially when the game really started to grind out a little bit towards the end, the last 10-20 minutes, and I really felt like maybe an injection of speed at the fullback with Marcus Smith will maybe open up some new ideas, some change the dynamic a little bit in terms of how how your attack is going to look. It was really interesting decision not bringing him on at all for this game. Now I could understand that, maybe they felt like Freddie Stewart is a better defender and a better under the high ball, and they felt like the game was going in a direction where it was going to come down to a really close finish and relying on defense, which did turn out to be the case. But in my opinion, if you're planning for a defensive finish, then you're going to get a defensive finish. If you're planning to really finish strong, I thought, you could end up with 35 points, and there was never going to be a comeback for the Pumas. So it's again, it's a decision making by the coaching staff to not bring him on. I thought was a little bit, yeah. I thought it was a little bit, I thought it was a little bit confusing for me, because Marcus Smith has been outstanding coming off the bench, and it does look like you have that, a lot of the, talents coming off the bench to try to finish strong. And yeah, I just didn't. I really thought I was a little bit, disappointed to not see Borthwick pull the trigger and try to finish the game on a high. Despite that, England was able to back themselves when the times were required. So unlike Argentina, where they kicked their penalty to close the gap to 1, England had opportunities in the second half to keep penalties themselves, and they backed themselves to the line out, scoring that crucial third try to extend their lead beyond two scores. And that was, again, something that the old England teams would have gone for the penalty kicks, and I think they did a really, really good decision there to really, again, to really extend that, back themselves for the try. But the last penalty, looking at it now, yes, you managed to extend the scoreboard beyond 3, but I felt like England should have gone for a try there. The one that was around the 71 minute there, I thought England should have gone for the try again, backed themselves again, because you had 10 minutes left on the clock. Even if you kick the penalty, Argentina still had the time to potentially score twice and win back at you. Whereas if you go for the try, even if you don't score, camped inside the Argentinian side, run the clock down out of 5-6 minutes. It's more difficult to actually win it. So you have to score, convert a try, and then a penalty, right? They still have to score twice in that case, but you can run the clock down a lot more and potentially get a try and just close the game right away. And even if you get a penalty like 5 minutes later, it still plays a huge advantage to the England side by running the clock down instead of just kicking the goal with still 10 minutes left on the clock. You've already asking the Argentinians to score twice. Now you're asking them to score, 2 tries instead of just 1 try and a penalty. I thought that was, again, strategically showed me a little bit of hesitancy there, not bring Marcus Smith on and also kicking a penalty goal when they had, when they were so good in their attacks near the end with their Pom squad on the field. That was full of energy. A little bit interesting decision there for both sides. Now, there was a interesting new player, Max Ojomo, coming on at 12. Boy, he was outstanding. I think it was his name, Dingwall, was injured. So he played, so Max, this was his second game for England. First one was against America. And man, he was absolutely outstanding. Making those half breaks, offloads. He set up the third try for Henry Slater, really extended the lead for England. And even just, throughout the game, his contribution in terms of just finding those correct lines and running the right angles to get George forward, giving that option for George forward was really, really, really sublime. And that this also leads me to another question, a little bit of some of the decision making for the England side as well. You have somebody here who's so good at picking out the space in front of him, opening himself up as an option for George Ford. George Ford looked like he had a lot of different options out there. It looked like he was running really, really, running a really good shift in terms of organizing the English attack. Why did you guys do so much kicking game? There was like 1,000-something meters of kicking. I really felt like if England should have capitalized the ball in hand a little bit more, because of the fact that George Ford was looking like a god when he got the ball. He was sending players through gaps left and right. He was looking unbelievable, and I really felt like, I know maybe the playbook was to play the kicking game against Argentina, but then if you have somebody who's like in top form, George Ford, and then you have someone that's, the new guy, Ojomo, who's, again, showing some dynamic plays that Argentinians aren't familiar with because he's a new guy. The Argentina don't have much footage of how he likes to play. He could potentially change, be a bit more flexible on the field and, really slow down that kicking game a little bit. And just, again, you got to try these things, right? And this is not the Six Nations. Don't want to diminish the importance of this game, but it's just one of those opportunities. This was like the perfect opportunity for England to capitalize or to change, just switch up the game plan in the mid-game and see how it goes. And if it does work, if it doesn't work, it's just information for the coaches to think about afterwards. I'm surprised that they didn't do that and they went stuck to their very conservative up and unders and kicking game for a lot part of the game, which actually, in my opinion, allowed the Argentinians to come back from that early lead that England had. I thought English rush defense was really, really good in the first half. Probably fought it off a little bit. England's set piece was outstanding. Pressure in the scrummaging. And then really a lot of pressure in the lineouts. The Argentinian lineouts weren't very good for the entire game. Especially even at the end, there was a sloppy lineout that led to the end of the game for England to close this one. But yeah, overall, I thought this was, this gave enough information Borthwick to try to push forward for the next step. There was one thing I was really impressed by just before I kind of look at the match stats. Just before halftime, England went for had a penalty, could easily kick 3. England went for the line out, and then they scored, but Cal and Dickey knocked on. But it's the mindset I thought was really important. This is what the Springboks likes to do, right? If they're just before halftime, it's basically a free roll of the dice, and it's a perfect opportunity for you to work on your set piece, to work on, to apply pressure for free, essentially. And then if you stuff it up, you might still get a penalty out of it. If you don't, it's just a free roll. There's no risk of unless unless bar like a 95-meter intercept run, there's really no risk of you conceding any points of this. So I really like that, what England did. Again, it's just the change of mindset. I thought that was really important for Steve Borthwick with this new group of players to try to really push them, keep pushing them out of that comfort zone, keep pushing them. And again, this is why I feel like, you are making the right steps, but I feel like you could definitely should make the next steps forward, right? If you have players who are running like a god out there, like George Ford and Ojomo, change up the game plan, stop the kicking game. If you're having, a bit of slowdown in the game, become rude on the defensive end. Change it up. Put on Marcus Smith instead of not putting him on. Put him on earlier, right? Put him on for 30 minutes, and then just see what happens. Get things to spice up things a little bit. I thought that would be the next step for England to really just be more adventurous. I know the English media criticizes just about anything that England does. I was watching there was English commentary talking about apparently they were celebrating too much for winning a scrum. Oh God, please don't celebrate. Don't celebrate a scrum like you've won the game. Like, come on, players are allowed to express themselves. A lot of these guys were young players and lots of energy, and just let them do what they want to do. If they want to celebrate, if they want to high five each other after a scrum win, let them be it. Like, they don't have to play like the Springboks. Or every team has a different culture, has a different way to express themselves. Everybody's different, and if the England players, if amongst themselves, if they feel like this is something worth celebrating, it's important to them, just let them do it. Like this, just really, really negative on their own. It's not really an issue. And they're still complaining about it live on TV. I didn't think that was really necessary. But anyway, outside of that, Tom Curry took out what's his name, Juan Cruz Malia, and the Argentinians weren't having it after the game. Henry Pollock seemed to have a little bit of a bit spicy anger issue maybe. But yeah, I thought, the one thing I think interesting with Henry Pollock is people might exploit that against him in another test match. If they're playing against someone like the Springboks, a team that's more shrewd, seeing somebody like Henry, gets easily aggravated, they might poke him a little bit and see if he gets himself sent off. Just interesting to take note on some of these responses from the players. Anyway, let's have a look at the match stats of the game. 3 tries for England to Argentina, 424 run meters to Pumas, 414. 155 carries for the Los Pumas, only 92. So in terms of efficiency, run meter efficiency, England is, like I said, England was much better in terms of efficiency, but they just kicked the ball away to give the Pumas a lot of chance to do 155 carries. 31 defenders beaten to the England's 19. 8 turnovers conceded for England, 9 against the Pumas. 250 tackles made for England, 31 missed tackles. Boy, 100 tackles made for the Pumas, 19 missed tackles themselves. So, yeah, really on the receiving end of the defensive efforts there. And here's the thing, I think that they could have made that defensive effort a little bit easier for themselves by keeping ball in hand as well. 40 kicks out of hands, and then 38 for Argentina, leading to 1,184 kick meters to 1,259 kick meters for the Pumas. Just ridiculous amount of kicking meters. Like, this might be the highest I've seen this year, out of any game of rugby. Like, that's incredible. I've seen like 1,000 from the Chiefs maybe in Super Rugby. I don't think I've seen this sort of numbers for at least a very long time. We've got a 1 missed penalty from George Ford, 1 miss from Argentina. There was 1 drop goal from George Ford that was missed. Bit of rush one. But he did get one at the get-go as well, just right away, popped it through. So let's go down to a bit. Lineouts, only 1 loss for England out of 8. 3 lineouts lost for Argentina out of 15. That's straight losses. There was like untidy ones as well as a result of the pressure that England would apply. Scrums, 4 for England, 3 for Argentina. 1 scrum loss for both sides. 50-50 calls, I thought, some of these ones. Like it was a scrum went down and losing their own feed because of it. And I thought it was 50-50 call. Penalties conceded. This is something that England needs to work on. 14 penalties conceded. Repeated penalties. There was 1 yellow card for repeated penalties at the end. I guess some of this could be excused because they were trying to scramble into defend the try line towards the end of the game, and they just wanted to, to run the clock down essentially. Again, I feel like the best way to avoid that issue is to attack more, right? And just not end up trying to, hold on to that desperate attempt to not lose the game in the last 5 minutes of the match. 8 penalties considered for Argentina, so much better in terms of discipline overall. So let's do a quick summary of the game. Yeah, England, in kind of like following their same style. 8 minutes in, George Ford got an opportunity just outside the 22, smacked this one from the left hand side of the field. 3 points to nil immediately. 9 minutes in the game, the new guy Ojomo. There was what happened here? I think, oh yeah, there was like an up and under, and then the ball got knocked back. Ojomo scooped out the ball, went in for the try. Yeah, like really impressive. Immediately, 10 points to nil. 20 minutes in, Argentina had a penalty. They missed. This one hit the post. 25 minutes. There was another England try. There was England was building towards one side. There was a scrum, I think it was. They were building one side. The ball came out. There was just a nice little switch. The ball went to Ojomo. Crossfield kick out of the 12. To fire on Boso. Got this one on the fly and then ran in for the try. 17 points, which is absolutely beautiful. Just setting everything up. Again, Argentina probably had no idea that Ojomo was able to do crossfield kicks like that as an option. Just completely catching the Argentinians off. So and bang, bang, England up 17 points to nil. 25 minutes of the game. 34 minutes, Argentina finally got something going with another penalty. They kicked 3 points here. 17 points to 3. 37 minutes in, there was a high ball penalty against Argentina. England missed this one. Just before half-time, England went for the line-out, had a penalty. Looked like Cowan-Dickie had scored. He lost the ball just short of the try line. So it was actually kind of interesting because if he technically did not have separation, so the ball kind of rolled from his hand down his forearm and then onto the try line. So if the ball actually did not hit the ground before the try line and then just actually never lost contact with his forearm and then grounded on the try line, this will actually be a try because there was no separation, even though he lost control. But the fact that is he actually grounded the ball short and then rolled it over the try line, and he lost control of the ball whilst he was not over the try line. So that was a knock on. So it's an interesting decision here, but I think the referee's got it right. Yeah, technically there was no separation, but he was short. So in an event, you're short, you lose control of the ball, it's a knock on. But if he's actually scoring the try, this would have been actually fine. So it was a bit of an interesting one. 45 minutes in, Argentina's had a scrum in the second half. Had a scrum. The ball came out. They found a little gap midfield, and then not a lot of crash ball follows through center field, and eventually Picardo crashed over with getting a flat ball pass from the 9. Went straight in for the try. 17 points to 10. 50 minutes in, Argentina is riding on a bit of momentum with a bomb squad on the field, but they had a penalty. Itoji was holding a player down on the ground, so this one I thought they should have gone. They're kicking out 3 points here. I thought they should probably go for the line out here. 59 minutes, another penalty of the breakdown against the English. Argentina kicking another 3. I thought, boy, should definitely go at least one attempt at a try out of these two. Scoreboard looked better, 17 points to 16. 63 minutes, George Ford is trying to drop goal and he missed. He is human. 65 minutes, England had another penalty. They decided not to take the 3. They decided, we're gonna take the step, take the hard stands on pushing ourselves forward. So they the ball, they went for the line out. The ball came out, crashed in the field. There was basically like a long ball out. The one went to the field, and then what's his name? The new guy, Ojomo, made a little half break, and then Henry Slate was right next to him, and he popped the ball off the ground. It was almost like a backflip off the ground. Just absolutely beautiful. And Henry Slate ran in for the try. 24 points to 16. 70 minutes in the game, England gets another penalty. Again, they were putting a lot of pressure on Argentina. The more look like the Argentinians don't really have an answer to it. And then instead of, I thought, persisting, England went for the 3 as well. It's 27 points to 16. Again, extending the scoreboard, but I really felt like England could have just closed the game there if they actually backed themselves. And yeah. Anyway, this leads to the Argentinians coming for a massive comeback win. 78, there was looked like Argentinian score. There was a knock on. The ball was grounded on the line, like knock on, and then the player tried to press the ball with his head. Wasn't able to get away with that. So there was a yellow card to Cowan-Dickie, I think it was. One of the guys got a yellow card from the England side for repeated penalties. And then Argentina had about a minute left. Tap and go, lots of crash balls. And eventually, Isco crashed over with 10 seconds left on the clock. I think about 20 seconds left. And Carreras quickly did a drop kick with just like 2 seconds something left before the clock ran out. So there was a kickoff. Scoreboard 27 points to 23. And then Argentina tried to run basically 80 meters. There was a penalty against England as well. And Argentina went for the line out. And then they messed up the line out. England recovered the loose ball, and that was the end of that. So yeah, really, 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 tense game. And then if you're an England fan, you're probably putting your hair out at the end there, But hey, it is a good start. Lots of new faces for the England team heading to Six Nations. Still, Ireland looking quite good. It's not going to be France looking quite good too, but it's not going to be like still a lot of work to do for the England side to actually want to take the Six Nations next year. But they're definitely going to be, definitely on the up and up heading into the Six Nations this year. And will be interesting to see how they're going to go. They might just lose to Scotland again, right? Who knows, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good one. See you later for the news. Cheers.